Peace. What's good? How y'all doing? This is ZaZaAli. Today is Friday, December the 13th, 2025. I pray that this message reaches you all in the best of health, spirit, and mind. This is one of a number of videos that I'm going to be uploading tonight. A couple of different subjects that I wanted to talk about. Before I get into all of that, I wanted to let you guys know officially I'm going to be speaking live Saturday, January 25th, 2025 at Soul Folks in Leimert Park in Los Angeles, California. Doors will open at 4:30 p.m. and we will begin at 5 o'clock promptly. And part one is going to be a reading of ancient people. And I'm probably going to pull one or a couple of the powerful queens in the book, since one of my major focuses in the subject, in my topic, in my lecture is going to be tapping into the divine feminine energy. And then we will break bread, we'll have an intermission and have a delicious plant-based vegan catered meal courtesy of Baba's Vegan Cafe in Los Angeles, California. And my brother Akil from Soul Folks is also gonna be sound like a runaway slave, is gonna be whipping up some of his famous super delicious vegan pizzas. So, and then part two is going to be my lecture presentation. I'm getting back in my teaching bag, a divine new world order, and I'm super excited about this presentation, about the things that I'm going to be talking about. Really getting into the mechanics of the spiritual sciences, the divine feminine, just where we are in this timeline right now. And, it's really a message for the illuminated ones, a divine message, a special message for the illuminated ones. So I'm very excited about this event, and we've done good already on the sales, and I haven't really been promoting it. But that's my tribe. That's my people. They always support me. So I'm going to put the link in the description for tickets. There is a limited number of seating available. So, and then we are also having the meals catered. So this is not going to be a full, doors open to a large crowd. It's going to be a smaller, more intimate type of setting. I love Soul Folks. I love the vibe in there. Brother Akil is the big homie. And I've got a lot of wonderful, powerful, dope, beautiful Black people that I know personally that are going to be there, as well as, all of my tribe and those of you guys that come out to support. So I will put the link in the description for the tickets, and you can get your copy, you can get your ticket, and you can come and break bread with us. And again, like I said, I'm back in my teaching bag. I haven't done any live events in a couple of years now, but even when I was doing the events, there was so much happening in terms of the PLAN demic, that it was, a main focal point in terms of the topics that I was discussing. And I was also very unnerved to see how many of our people, how many of all people fell for the Fugazi. And so the vibe and the focus and the intention of this message is going to be specifically for the 144,000. And I recognize that that number, may be a quantifiable, focus in terms of the actual number, or it may just be to help us to see the very large, polarizing difference in the numbers of people actually on this planet, which was around 8 billion last time I checked, and 144,000. That is a very large difference in terms of the number, and mind-blowing in terms of the variation in those numbers. So, but you have to qualify to be in the 144,000. It's not just a given because of any specific thing. It's all about frequency. It's all about vibration. It's about energy, mindset, consciousness, et cetera, et cetera. And then there is, Babylon the Great, which I'm sitting in right now, Los Angeles to be specific, Babylon being America or the USA. And there are some specific conditions and specific things that have taken place on this soil, which make certain ones among us on this soil, specifically born into this timeline, specifically born into family experiences and life dynamics and hardships and trials and tribulations, etc., that have properly prepared us for this moment in time. I'm sure you guys are aware we have a billion podcasts, we have a billion YouTube channels, we have a billion influencers, we have more focus on celebrity culture than ever, and yet the world is in dire need of guidance, divine feminine guidance, I might add. And I don't mean that just to be representative of women, although women are the highest expression of the divine feminine in the physical realm. A man who is operating in his righteous mind and true to his organic self is going to have a proper balance of masculine and feminine energy. Now, if you're a caveman, or you are, a podcast professional, that's not going to make sense to you. On this channel, we do metaphysics, spiritual sciences. We are going above the lower echelon into the higher states of consciousness and awareness. So when I talk about the divine masculine, the divine feminine, that is what I'm talking about. Before I get into my subject today, I just want to remind you guys, Ancient People, a social studies and history textbook. Look how large this book is. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. Look how large this book is. Okay. Orders are being shipped out. If you haven't gotten your book, I've shipped out a lot of books this week. We ran out of packaging, boxes, bubble wrap, and labels. So I had to re-up on all of my stuff. As you can see, this book is freshly wrapped. This is how it will come to your doorstep. This is the hardcover, and I'm so proud of this book. I've also created two additional versions of this book. One of them is the Ancient People Reader, which is just it doesn't have the textbook aspect, the worksheets inside of it. And then the other one is just a workbook version, and it has just the stuff that entail the workbook aspect. So the crossword puzzles, the word search puzzles, the spelling, the vocabulary, the Q&A, the critical thinking, spelling quiz, all of that stuff will be separate in the workbook version. And then there will be a reader version, which I'm calling, an adult version of the book, because this book is, I wrote it, I created it for homeschooling parents in particular. The age range we recommend is 13 and up, but if you have an advanced student, you could probably get away with 11 and up. But this is also a very grown-up book too. So I don't want people to think that I just wrote this book for children. It is absolutely for our children. Our children are going to have to step their game up in terms of the content and the context of what's in the book, because it is grown up. It's advanced vocabulary. It's advanced reading. And so anyway, I'm not going to get into all of that, but the books are available for sale now. If you haven't gotten your book, like I said, I had to wait on packaging supplies this week because we ran out of everything, but books are shipping out. I will put the link in the description so you can get your copy of Ancient People, a Social Studies and History textbook. And I also have 4 other books, just to remind everybody, in case you don't know. I have 7 books, actually. What am I saying? I was going to say 4 workbooks. Keys to Womanhood, what every young lady and woman should know. Change Your Mind from Lack to Abundance. I don't know why that's in there. Science of Sex, The Science of Self, The Power of the Mind, and then Change Your Mind from Lack to Abundance. And all of that is available on my website, ZaZaAli.com. I am also running a special right now for 40% off of my membership channel for an annual membership. So if you would like to get more content, like the content that I'm going to talk to you guys about today, I'm going to take this message about Candace Owens. I'm going to take a passage from my most recent Headline News episode 65, which is available on my website or my membership channel. It was posted on December 7th. The topics we discussed: Candace Owens and the Mammy effect, Michelle Lammy and the Hollywood effect, Jonathan Majors, is the humiliation ritual over? Cat Williams opened a portal. That's a question mark, because 2020 opened the portal, respectfully. The degeneracy of the super rich. Drake, the crybaby king. I'm so embarrassed that he's a Scorpio. Americans in the psychological spell. Floods in Spain, snow in North Korea. Russia, Andrew Tate, Elon Musk, and the role of controlled opposition. I should have said Trump too. United Healthcare CEO assassination, healthcare exposed, preachers playing the game and paying the price, wicked dolls and the sexual war on children, buttermilk turkey lawsuit, Australia bans social media, moves forward with the digital ID, TikTok ban on the horizon, the Department of Education and DEI hires, Trump, Texas, BlackRock, and Vanguard, spiritual warfare at the highest levels. It's the Black woman's fault because everything's the Black woman's fault, right? That and much more. This was a 3 hour and 20-minute episode. It's not available on demand because I just need to have some content that's just only specifically catered to my membership channel. So you can get save 40%, or you can sign up for a monthly membership, which is $22.22. With all of that being said, the reason why I wanted to talk about this subject publicly, as well as the next video I'm going to post, which is about Andrew Schultz, or Schultz. Is it Andrew Schultz? Andrew Schultz. Oh, ye wicked man, you. I'm going to talk about him as well, and a couple of other things. The Jay-Z and Diddy situation, I'm going to talk about that separately. I'm going to split this up in 3 different videos because everybody does their content like that, and I need to start doing that. And I know you guys like shorter form videos. I personally prefer longer form, but I have a long attention span, and I am a magnet for information and for content that makes me think, that inspires me, that is invigorating and encouraging. So for me, I'm the type of person that can listen to a 4 or 5 medical or scientific presentation or history or whatever. But I also know we're in a world that people's minds move very fast and the attention span is short. So the reason why I want to talk about these things is because I'm getting really tired of Black America. And when I say Black America, I feel like we should all know specifically who we're talking about. I know, and I say this all the time, you guys probably get tired of hearing me say it, but I get tired of people sending me these messages where stop calling yourself Black, you're not a color crayon, and all of that stuff. And so if I use the language that you think is appropriate, then half of the audience is going to be looking at me like I'm crazy, and they're not going to understand what I'm saying. And if I say Africans in America, then half of the audience, my audience for sure, is going to be side-eyeing me because they know that all of us did not come from Africa, right? If I say melanated, then we're incorporating other cultures and races because, well, I shouldn't say races, but cultures and ethnicities, because as we should know, the melanated people of the world are all over the world. So ancient Polynesians, ancient, Hawaiians, the Moors, the African culture, obviously. There are so many ways that particular conversation can go. So I'm speaking to everyone and trying to pinpoint a specific demographic when I talk about Black people in America. So whether we're talking about descendants of slaves, which all of us are not, or whether we're talking about the native indigenous Black or dark skinned or melanated people who are sometimes referred to as Native Americans and who are other times referred to by other titles. I feel like everybody should know who or what I'm talking about, right? So if I said hip hop and I said hip hop is a Black culture, we'd all know exactly what I was talking about, right? If I said Denzel and Sanaa Lathan and LeBron James and Kendrick Lamar and Tupac, right? And I'm only using celebrities because these are all names that we all know. We all know who I'm talking about, right? So let's not make this difficult. Let's have a simple conversation about a complex thing. But I'm really tired of the way that the world is harnessing Black energy, and there's multiple levels of it. If we look at the situation with Jay-Z and Diddy right now, and they're trying to make Black men the face of RAPE culture, which is absolutely fascinating because Weinstein never got the type of attention Diddy got. Sandusky never got the type of attention that Diddy got. Hugh Hefner never got the type of attention Diddy got. And I know some of you guys look up to that savage. It's fascinating. But then, we still look up to pimps in our culture, in Black culture. So, but my point is, from R. Kelly to Jay-Z to Diddy to a lot of, what's happening in the mainframe of culture, so to speak, we are being used in the same way that trap music and drill music and whole culture in terms of female rap, which 90% of it's trash and garbage. Yes, I can say that. I love hip hop. I love rap music. I love black music, soul music, etc., etc. And I can flow. I could have been an entertainer. I could have been a rapper, but I'm not an entertainer. Okay. One of these days I'm gonna do a song, and I'm gonna, once I have a show officially, I'm gonna, anyway, that's neither here nor there. That's not what I'm gonna talk about. I'm really getting tired of people pointing the finger and making us this focal point, right, for all of the ills of the world. And not just all of the ills, but like, and then also responsible to come in and talk about everything that's going on with everybody else, right? We need to focus on this problem here, this place in the world, and focus on this here, and focus, like, we're supposed to come in and be all hands on deck for everybody else's problems. But everybody else is not all hands on deck when it comes on our problems, to our problems in America, unless of course there's a white police officer involved. Then it goes global. But in terms of the day-to-day circumstances and situations of the average person in this country, black and other, barely making ends meet, barely getting by, barely able to afford, the basic necessities of life, can't send their children to college because it's too expensive, can't, provide decent housing in a safe neighborhood with adequate schooling. Nobody in the world seems to care about that. Nobody in the world seems to talk about the fact that the worst liquor, aka Schlitz, I don't even know if they still sell Schlitz liquor. I hate even saying it. My godmother used to drink it, that's why I know. Mad Dog 2020, right? All of the worst and cheapest aspects of alcohol are available in the hood. So we know who that's geared towards. Crack cocaine, I talked about that in a scientific intervention in our affairs, was an absolute, trying to watch my wording here so I don't get a strike or demonetized. Talk about, using science as a weapon. Okay. I talked about how they, did that and utilized their technology and their wicked scientists in order to do that. So this is a very intentional, direct, targeted focus on Black people in America and finding a way to limit our potential, to limit our capacity, to limit our expansion. While they're doing that, at the same time, we had J. Edgar Hoover coming out talking about a fear of a Black Messiah. Yes, he used the word Messiah. He didn't say Black leader. He didn't say Black preacher. He didn't say Black scholar. He didn't say Black teacher. He said Messiah. Okay, so that brings us back to the importance of what's happening here in America, because this is the last leg standing in terms of any real freedom and real concept of democracy, even though that doesn't exist. A shout out to all of the people who voted for Donald Trump and are now back in their comfort zone of, yeah, the system of democracy finally works. Most of you guys don't even know that Trump actually didn't win the popular vote the first time around. He won the Electoral College. So, revolutionaries don't usually get the support of the matrix. Okay, I'm not going to get into all of that because that'll take me into a whole different frame of reference. But I'm doing this content because I'm really just tired of all of the anti-Black sentiment. And Candace Owens is a specific focus today for me because I'm really tired of it. Now, let me say this first. I actually like Candace Owens. The members in my membership channel know I have talked about, I've shown clips of her talking about things, particularly the Jim Jones juice, AKA the CBD 19 shot, that whole fugazi. Her ability to speak on that and to stand up against the fire that came with that, the way that she has spoken up for in terms of the situation happening in the Middle East and how hard they came after her and how she still was, she persevered and stood true to what she believed in. I can watch people that I don't agree with everything that they say if I can learn something. Matter of fact, probably 75 to 80% of the people that I watch, there's usually something they say that I don't agree with, but I can get past that because as long as it's adding value or there is some benefit, even if it's just making me laugh, right? So I actually like her message and some of her messages in her platform, right? I can't believe I'm already 20 minutes in, but The reason why I'm doing this message is because, and oh, let me just say, the whole Trump, I haven't really watched a lot of her content lately because the Trump worship is just mind-boggling to me. I, for the life of God, cannot understand if somebody gives you bad information, right? They tell you that, this TV is the best TV and it's on sale, but everything works. It's the best thing. It's going to last for 50 years. And then you take it home and it doesn't work, a week later. And so they come back and say, oh, my bad. And then they come back, and now they're giving you information again, and you're trying to build up trust to reestablish a relationship with this person or to buy into whatever they're selling. Shouldn't you at least be a little weary and a little cautious? I know you guys, the savior complex is a hell of a thing, but I know that a lot of you guys have sort of forgiven Trump because you feel like he got bad information the first time around, even though he's still been campaigning for that poison during his campaign run. And I know on surface level, it doesn't seem like that's big of a deal, but when you really understand what's happening beneath the surface, it's actually the really big elephant in the room that 2025, I think, is going to prove to be an unavoidable situation and conversation that we're all going to have to face. But if you come and tell me, my bad, I didn't know that was accurate, I gave you some information that killed your child, or that gave you a major heart condition, or that has given you a condition now that you can't seem to shake, or that, tinnitus, or there's so many different adverse effects from that needle. My bad, I didn't know. They gave me the wrong information. So first of all, I'm going to be expecting an apology, number one. Secondly, I'm going to be expecting for you to publicly come forward and say, hey guys, I got this wrong. And I not only was I wrong, but this is doing harm, this is doing damage. Let me warn you. Now I get it. You might say, well, he's waiting until he's getting in office, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, fine. But my point is not about him. My point is about you guys, whoever you guys are. If the first time around you were misled and so you misled me, and then the second time around I'm choosing the lesser of two evils, so I rock with you because there's only two options, I'm not going to be waving a big ass flag with your name on it. I'm not going to be front and center cheering you on, making it seem like you're the best thing since sliced bread. These people are cheering this man on like he's the next coming, the new Christ, which makes perfect sense why they used him. It's mind-blowingly, wickedly fantastic how these people are playing games with your minds. It's cruel, but it's also fascinating. I'm not going to be like, oh, okay, we made an agreement. We back on the same team. Cool. But I'm not going to be in the front row cheering you on and waving a flag. I'm going to be in the background, playing it cool, watching and observing and cautious. There is no cautiousness in regards to this conversation. And this is why I haven't really been listening to Candace Owens, as well as a number of other, content creators online that I used to listen to and find value in, because I just cannot get, like, you people have no spiritual discernment whatsoever. Okay. So I like Candace Owens. I like a lot of the things that she talks about. I love the fact that she, deals with history. That's always a fascinating thing to me. But there are some things that I take issue with, and I'm going to talk about a couple of those things now. These flyers are not these flyers. This is part of my episode 65. Let me just share my screen real quick. All right, so you can see me there. And let's just pull this up real quick. Hide that. All right, so this is episode 65. This episode ended up being 3 hours and I think it was 20 minutes. And it was actually a really good episode, if I may say so myself. But I just want to fast forward through a couple of these. You see your girl Erykah Badu there, dancing with the devil. What is she doing? More on that later.
When LeBron James tweets something like, we can't.
I want to start this in the right way. So when
LeBron James tweets tweets something like, "We can't go outside," following the shooting. I don't remember what shooting it was. I think it might have been a motor robbery. And I look at that tweet and I say, who are you tweeting this for? You live in a $100 million house.
But he's still part of the collective we.
The problem,
he's still a black man.
but he is a black man, right. But we are not collectively all living the same experience and having the same experience. So what he does is he plays a part.
Regardless of how much money you make, you're still a black man in America, which is a very difficult thing to be.
It's not a difficult thing to be LeBron James, and there's no way you are going to convince me that this man is living a difficult life. And that's what I mean. Where
you
I
don't
say
think LeBron he doesn't still face the struggles of a black man?
Nope, he does not. Nope.
So what, you know what? His life as a white man?
I want to be clear. No, he's living his life as a wealthy man.
Because wealth doesn't stop you from being black.
It doesn't stop you from being black, but it does stop you from pretending that you're struggling.
But to say, yo, I saw a black man get murdered and I'm speaking out as the collective we, that lets me know that he's in touch. He cares.
No, that's him performing to make you think that he's in touch, but he's not. You don't even touch your own door handles.
So Trump is, I believe he's worth $1 billion now, right? So you were adamant on your platform about speaking out about the potential alleged, another reason why I don't trust a lot of you guys, because you have no spiritual discernment. And apparently your eyes don't work if you actually believe that those things actually happen. It's all a movie show. We're all in a real live reality TV version of a movie. But so you can speak on the alleged attempt on Trump's life, but he can't speak on an actual murdered black man. Now you may say, well, that's because this is politics and the president, holds a powerful impact in terms of, the bigger scope and leading our country, leading our nation, etc. Well, in the hearts and minds of young black boys and girls, especially in inner cities, I would venture to say that LeBron James is more important than Donald Trump. Whether you agree with that or think that's, a good thing or not, that's besides the point. Not only that, LeBron James has cousins and nephews and uncles and friends that still live in the hood, that are still dealing with the circumstances of racism, of poverty, etc. Are you actually saying that he's not in a position to speak up for them? Not only that, going back to 2021, 2022, when this is when I stopped rocking with LeBron James, because they used him against Kyrie Irving, obviously, because Kyrie was the only one that had the kahunas. I think there might have been one or two other players, but Kyrie was the only, sort of A-list basketball player that had the courage to step up and stand on his square, which I will forever respect and love and admire him for. What was the tennis player? I want to say Dirk Nowitzki, but that's a basketball player. He was ranked #1 in the world. He couldn't get into Australia because he didn't have the Jim Jones juice. And, imagine that. I don't think we all ever really dealt with that fact that they limited our movement because we did not, consent to Satan. What's his name? It'll come to me. Somebody will write it in the comments. So we were upset, and rightfully so, at the players for not speaking out and not standing up about the shot. I can't say whether she was or not. Can't recollect for sure what her position was on them, but I most definitely was, and I held all of them and still hold all of them accountable to this day, just like I hold Jay-Z and Rock Nation accountable for holding several events in New York, one of them being a job fair for ages 12, I think it was 12 to 65, and you had to have the shot to go to a job fair. So we can hold Black men accountable for the lyricism in music. We can hold Black men accountable for the way that they treat their families, being active fathers or not. We can hold Black men accountable for just the Diddy and Jay-Z conversation, for instance. We can hold them accountable for all the things they're not doing, but we can't support them when they stand up and actually speak out about injustice, whatever injustice. Now, the irony of all of this for me, this white guy in the middle is Candace Owens' husband. His name is George Farmer. He has a net worth of $250 million. He earns $40 million annually through real estate and other business ventures. Farmer is one of the early investors in Uber, Snapchat, and Twitter, which turned in huge profits. He is married to Candace Owens. So you're always talking about traditional relationships, family, etc. So I'm going to assume you have a traditional old school relationship and that you guys didn't have a prenup. Maybe you did. I don't know. But just on the surface, and actually, I don't really care. I'm trying to make a point here. For all intents and purposes, we should assume that you and your husband and your family have a net worth of $250 million, right? Which means that you're kind of in the same lane that you're saying LeBron is in. And Candace Owens' net worth, I looked it up. I think it said somewhere between $2 and $5 million. There was a couple of different reports on that, so I didn't want to post all of that. But somewhere between $2 and $5 million. So now we have a let's say $255 million net worth. What's Trump's net worth? The Bible says, to whom much is given, much is expected. I know that's not the direct quote, but that's basically what it says. So the more you have, the greater responsibility and accountability you have. This is why Satan is getting ready to drag all of these celebrities, all of these politicians, all of these industries, all of these CEOs, all of these, sort of mainframes in collective consciousness who are worth billions of dollars or hundreds of millions of dollars. I'd be very curious to know as well how much of that $250 million net worth has actually gone into something sustainable for the Black community. I'm emphasizing the Black community because I don't like everything is critical. Everything is judgmental. There's plenty of Black people in this country doing amazing things. And I hate when people say all Black culture in America is bad or, we don't have culture. I beg your pardon. Who do you think Malcolm X is from? Where do you think Nina Simone is from? Where do you think Nikki Giovanni is from? Where do you think, and I'm thinking about intellectuals and scholars, Langston Hughes, ZaZaAli, respectfully. You know what I'm saying? There is a long-standing history of powerful, beautiful, articulate, amazing artists and writers and scholars and historians and teachers and people that have added value to the world. That's why there's so much attention focused on us. So I don't like the fact that it feels like to me, and again, I backed off your content because I see the play, I see the game. I don't like the fact when a Black woman or a Black man, any Black person, when 85 to 90% of their content when it comes to us is negative and critical and judgmental. I don't have a problem with holding my people accountable, but I'm always speaking on the value of us. I'm always speaking on the beauty of us. I'm always speaking on the importance of us. And if you, as a woman of religion, Catholicism, which is, talk about that in a second, but as a religious person, if you really understand the scriptures, then you will be a lot more respectful to the people here. If you actually knew American history through and through, not just the parts that make you comfortable or make your husband comfortable, and you talked about them, which ironically you don't, it would seem like you would have a more well-rounded perspective. Candace Owens is not relatable to me as a Black woman, but I do respect her perspectives on a lot of things. I respect her opinion. I respect the fact that she shines a light in the dark places, especially when it comes to the sexy reds and the whole consciousness culture. I can't deal with it. It's nice to have somebody else spreading that message. And to that point,
so they say the word conspiracy theory.
That's the theory is the only thing that's the problem. The conspiracy to conspire is not an issue.
Yeah, but that is the truth. And that is why we should just call it out when we see it. This is what's happening. These people are conspiring. Like, that's what I do. And here's a document you can look at to see when they've done it in the past. And this is what's happening now. And I also listen to people. I don't gaslight people. So if an artist comes to me and says, I've been told to record something demonic, or I had a conversation with Amber Rose, and she a couple of weeks ago, and it was a lot of her telling me that she was basically just being pushed by people that you need to be more sexual and to be more sexual. I accept that obviously at a certain point, and this gets into why you were saying why I won't bend for money, I wouldn't do it. I'm built different, But also acknowledge that these people are being pushed in a certain direction. Women, you're being told, can you make it sexier? I will not accept. The conspiracy to me is to try to convince me that the times have changed. And we went from, in the Black community, producing Michael Jackson and Whitney Houston to what really Black people really want to hear right now, is Sexy Red. And so that's the reason why these record labels are going to Sexy Red and offering her a deal. I refuse to believe that. Okay, so yes, power is held by these labels when they go out, and I don't mean that as any disrespect to her. What I am saying is that frequencies are real. Okay,
exactly.
Frequencies impact your spirit. You and I know that.
There's been brothels and strip clubs and stuff since the oldest
but
profession
I'm talking
is
about music.
so,
right?
Okay, and like
So,
you said,
and then I'm talking, yes, and you are correct. But Confucius said, "Listen to the music,
and you'll be able
yes.
to know the
And there's a reason for that.
Society.
He knew this. This Chinese philosopher knew this back when, and this people who, in my viewpoint, have a lot of power in the music industry also understand that.
Now I can rock with what she said, right? That's why I put this in here to be balanced, because I want to be balanced in this conversation. I don't know why Amber Rose has become a poster girl for trying to make any significant point, honestly, about anything. There's a difference between a woman who came into the industry or into, the fame or the Hollywood world, and who was, sexualized, right? And became, a focal point for sexual energy, obviously the lower nature of sexual energy. There's a difference between a woman who comes in and gets turned out and a woman who was already on the whole frequency when she came through the door. Apparently, we can't seem to tell the difference. Very big difference. Ask any man from the hood, he'll tell you. And she has all the makings, but I don't want to judge her because everybody can change. Wonderful. Yes. Okay, cool. The point is, on a topic like critical race theory, which I've heard Candace Owens talk about plenty of times, she's obviously against it, which most, right wing and I'll say right wing, and then a large portion of the white population, as far as I can tell, is against critical race theory, not only because it's allegedly, making Black studies a focus, but it's also, teaching white children to hate themselves. That's a large part of the argument. You're teaching white children to hate themselves, which is ironic because that's what the entire school system has been doing to Black children since the inception of the school system in this country. I've never once heard you talk about it, or anybody in that vein for that matter, which is one of the reasons why I wrote Ancient People, because there's more than 450 images in that book of us, beautiful, prominent, powerful Black people all over the world. So this is what I talk about in terms of the lack of balance. I'm against the concept of critical race theory in terms of teaching it in a school, not because I don't think we need to have Black studies focus, but because I know that the history that they're teaching is watered down. The textbooks that they're teaching from are watered down. They're created by the same people that she's fighting against in terms of what they're doing in Palestine. They're creating the textbooks in the schools with or without critical race theory. I don't want critical race theory, and I also don't want dismal, weak, watered down Black studies where all of the images look either like slaves or Jezebels. When I was in college, I was studying the infrastructure of the Black Studies program, and I was in Oakland, so we had a way more revolutionary Black Studies program than most of the places around the world.
Somebody texted me and said that Beyonce's mommy came for me on Instagram. I said, what? Excuse me? Tina Knowles? What have I done to deserve this? This is so wrong. So my little sister called me this morning. She's like the nice one, the soft one. And she told me to remember that we were raised to show respect to our elders. She said, be nice to Ms. Tina Knowles. And I am going to be nice. I'm going to be as gentle as I possibly can to Beyonce's Mammy going on here. But I have to say, I am not Becky with the good hair. I'm not going to tolerate this, trying to play the culture, thinking everyone's going to think it's a slam dunk. Oh, no, we're not doing that. There will be a response here. So let me just back it up to give everyone a refresher of how this drama all started. So Kamala lost the election. And then people were stunned when a political reporter broke the story that despite having $1 billion in the bank at the start of this year, The Biden-Harris campaign ended with negative $20 million. This was the tweets. This is the reporter, Christopher Cadelago. He wrote Kamala Harris's campaign ended with.
Now, let me just bring myself back up here. I want to make sure you guys can prominently see my face. Okay, so there we go. And then I'll bring this back up. Can I do that? Let's just stop sharing the screen for a second. All right, so this is what made me do this video. The other stuff I could look past, but since we're talking about it, we're going to talk about it, right? That other stuff she talks about doesn't really bother me because whatever. And plus, I am not a LeBron James fan anymore because of the pandemic situation, but then particularly because of what happened with his son at USC. Allegedly, he had a heart attack during practice. USC is one of those schools that mandated the Jim Jones juice. That could have been a ritualistic situation because his son ended up in the NBA for half a second, right? He obviously wasn't talented enough, wasn't skilled enough, but LeBron used his position and his, impact on the league and used it as leverage to get his son to play with him for I don't know how many games. I don't even know if he's still playing, right? But him and his mother, the fact that you actually allowed your son to get that shot, if he took it in order to play, I have an issue with. But hey, we all make mistakes. We get misguided. But then after the heart attack, how do you go back to business as usual? Yeah, I'm not built like that. I don't care how much money's on the line. I don't care, not when it comes to my son. So for that reason alone, LeBron is just not, you know what I mean? He does good, and I'm glad for all the good things that he does in terms of the culture, etc. But that put him in a whole different category for me. So this is not about defending LeBron James. The word Mammy, especially she loves history. I'm a historian. The word Mammy is very triggering for me. Not because I've ever been called it, because I haven't. That type of language doesn't exist in my realm. But because I know the history of the word. So let's go back and do a little bit of history in terms of the word. A mammy is a U.S. historical stereotype depicting Black women, usually enslaved, who did domestic work among nursery children. The fictionalized mammy character is often visualized as a dark-skinned woman with a motherly personality. The origin of the mammy figure stereotype is rooted in the history of slavery in the United States, as enslaved women were often tasked with domestic and childcare work in American slaveholding households. The mammy caricature was used to create a narrative of Black women being content with the institution of slavery among domestic servitude. Let me move this. Domestic servitude. The mammy stereotype associates Black women with domestic roles, and it has been argued that it, alongside segregation and discrimination, limited job opportunities for Black women during the Jim Crow era, 1877 to 1966. Now, this is why I say Candace Owens is not relatable. Because any conscious high, I'm not even gonna say high vibrational woman, you don't even have to be high vibrational. Like, and pause. In terms of Beyonce, in terms of Tina Knowles, I'm not a fan of either one of them. So I've been, Beyonce walked with Bootylicious so the BBL culture could run. You know what I'm saying? She has played a very specific role in the sexualization of Black women, how we're viewed, et cetera, not to mention all of the symbolism in terms of the four horses and Behold a Pale Horse, not Behold a Pale Horse in the book of Revelations. That's another conversation for another time. And Tina Knowles, I went back and forth with her in terms of her promoting that shot and promoting lies. And then I unfollowed her because I was following her at the time. So this is not about defending either one of them. They got plenty of people to defend them. So I'm not here for that. The mammy concept and using that word to address this woman is why you're not relatable, and is why it really makes me question how much you actually really love Black people, love, appreciate the value of being a Black woman. Like, is it a badge of honor for you, or is it a badge of shame? As you see the image there on the left from Gone with the Wind, right? And a lot of the caricatures that are still prevalent to this day are still tied back to a lot of these historical references, right? Then you got the images. These are some of the old comics. So you can see the images at the top, the watermelon eating, chicken eating, barely can speak proper English, lazy, passive, that dumb Black woman sentiment is tied back to this language. So when you know history and you respect history, these type of things are just not on the table. Now, sometimes Oprah Winfrey gets referenced as a mammy, and sometimes it's appropriate for Oprah Winfrey, particularly what she did in Lahaina, how she handled that situation, particularly how she represented John of God, the occultist who has since been accused of all kinds of sexual deviances. So there's instances where she's played a position jockeying for power or snuzzling up to the most evil, wicked ones amongst them, where that could be relative. But in terms of this argument that she's making with Tina and Beyonce, and her referring to her as a mammy just because she had the audacity to question her out or to, address her, I beg your pardon. She's a staple of progress in the Black culture. We could say what we want in terms of her, Beyonce works for Satan, true, right? I love Solange. She's definitely played the background in a much more respectable way to me. She's also a pinnacle in the culture. Tina Knowles raising daughters and, you know what I mean? And having a family and moving the culture forward. And like, she does get props and respect for certain things. I wouldn't refer to her as a mammy. So I don't like that language. Is triggering. And again, I'm getting tired of people, Black women, Black men, white women, white men, et cetera, using Black people and Black culture to wipe their asses with to make a point and impress their predominantly white audiences, which I know hers is. Now, in terms of calling things out that need to be called out, since we're calling people like Tina Knowles out, an aggregated total from 2 decades of reports issued by the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops shows the nation's dioceses and eparchies, hope I'm saying that right, eparchies paid some $4.34 billion. Let me write that number down. To settle claims between 2004 and 2023. Now I'm gonna write that down and I'm gonna bring myself back up. This is my last Candace slide. Yeah, we got into Cat Williams next. Okay, so that's not what I wanted to do. Okay, so she's been very active on her platform in terms of representing her Catholic culture and her newfound religious perspective and persuasion in terms of being Catholic. Well, I'd like to know, when are you going to do an expose on the Catholic Church? I'd like to know when you're going to talk about the recent in Los Angeles. This was just a few weeks ago. We talked about it in a previous episode of Headline News. The Los Angeles Diocese settled an $880 million lawsuit. I believe it was 300 pastors, if I remember correctly, were involved over the course of a 10 or 20-year period of scandal and abuse. And we're talking about children. I don't care if they're Black or white. When are you going to stand up for them? When are you going to do an expose on that? $4.34 billion in 20 years, 19 years, really, that they've paid out in money. I'd love to see an expose on that. You and your $250+ million worth, net worth husband, you obviously, have a focus and an emphasis on, spreading knowledge and information on historical facts, on modern facts, on issues that are damaging and poisoning American culture, but you won't touch that one. And if she has talked about it recently, then I stand corrected. Somebody send me the link, I'll watch it, I'll do a separate video, and I'll say, hey, my bad. That part of the video, I was wrong. She has talked about it. Big up to Candace Owens. Just like a bigger up for all of the stuff that she talks about that's important, that needs to be talked about, whether it's Black culture, white culture, etc. I'm here for all of that. But the Mammy conversation, the Mammy language, I'm it's very triggering, the language. If it's appropriate, if there is a righteous situation where we can apply that and it actually has some value, where we can bring the historical reference point, to the forefront, and then we can say, okay, well, this is why this is applicable and it's important. But don't just be throwing out language like that in such a sloppy, disrespectful way. And you claim to be a proud Black woman, then you should understand that that language and that word is tied back to an ongoing historical reference that is very dangerous and damaging when it comes to Black culture, but Black women in particular. And I'd love to see you do an expose about where the word Mammy came from. Did Black people create it? No, it was the same people that were lynching Black men, women, and children, cutting off penises, cutting off ears, poking out eyeballs, and standing next to dead bodies while they take pictures. And then they made postcards, and then they sent them to their loved ones. I'd love for you to do an expose on that. All right? Do I expect Candace Owens to see this video? No, I don't. So I'm talking to her in the chance that actually may happen, but I'm talking to my audience and I'm talking to the collective consciousness, Black and other, right? There's so much focus on our culture, so much focus on our people, so much focus on all the things that we did wrong, all the things we're doing wrong, all the ways we're misleading and damaging, the mindset of children, the negative impact that we're having. Well, I'm here to tell you that type of language is having a different type of negative impact, but it's still important and it needs to stop. ZaZaAli.com is my website. info@ZaZaAli is my email address. I will put all the contact information for all the stuff I talked about in the beginning of the video. Thank you guys so much for your time and attention. Didn't mean to talk for 55 minutes, obviously. I think my intro was probably like 10 minutes. Hopefully that wasn't too bad. But yeah, I just needed to get some things off my chest. I'll see y'all soon. Peace and love.